On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, Shogun gets renewed not just for a season 2, but also for a season 3. Madam Web, yes, Madam Web is the #1 movie in the world on Netflix. Also, Deadpool 3 is officially now the longest of the franchise. How big of a deal is that? We're going to review the new Ryan Reynolds, John Krasinski movie, If. The Sony Spider-Verse series, Silk, that was going to be coming to Amazon. Yeah, it's been canceled, and the Megalopolis reviews are now out, and they're messy and all over the place. We're going to talk about that and a few things more. So greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is John Campea. Joining me in the studio today, of course, we got Ray Ora.
Hello.
Jonathan Voico.
Hey, guys.
It's Friday, so the delightful Chris Carr is here.
Hey, y'all.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making this little show part of your day. And here's how the show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about those topics that I listed off. Then we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, before we get into anything else, I want to remind you guys that this is primarily a podcast. Yeah, we have an audio-only version of this show. So if you guys ever need the John Campea Show fix that you itch on every single day, don't worry about it. We got you covered if you can't be in front of a YouTube video. Just go on over to your favorite podcasting app of choice, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever. Just search for the John Campea Show podcast and subscribe to it today, so it'll be there when you need it. All right, guys. With that all down, let's get things started with this, shall we? And we're going to be talking about a little bit of Shogun. Jonathan, what do we got?
All right. Well, guys, word came out last week that Hulu smash hit Shogun had signed producer and star Hiroyuki Sanada to a potential second season. But yesterday came word that Hulu is officially moving forward on 2 more seasons. From The Hollywood Reporter, a writer's room is being assembled and will open in the summer to explore a continuation of Shogun beyond Clavo's original novel. Shogun's creatives, including co-creators, executive producers, and writers Justin Marks and Rachel Kondo, executive producer Michaela Clavel, as well as star and producer Hiroyuki Sanada, are all involved with the development. John, is greenlighting 2 new seasons the right move for Shogun?
Absolutely it is. They just created the best show of the year. I mean, you have the best show of the year. Now, listen, I understood the argument because I grew up loving the book, the James Clavell Shogun novel. Love it. And, of course, they did end up the story. They finished the book in season 1. And the original plan was for this thing to be a limited series. But the thing is, when you make something this good and you create on-screen characters that are so compelling, and you deviate from the book in brilliant ways. The writers did a masterful job on this series. You put all this work and energy and money into creating this world, these brilliant characters that inhabit it. If you can do more, do more. And Hiroyuki Sanada said from the beginning, he was more than willing to come back. He's also executive producer on the show. He wanted to come back. He wanted to do more. And there's just no reason not to. And here's the thing. If they do a season 2, and it's awful with the same producers and writers, I doubt it will be, but let's say it is. Okay, then the second season's awful. And we still got the first season and everything's great. But no, when you lay the groundwork the way they did, when you create a world the way they created this world, and you make it so immersive, and then you bring these characters to life even better than the original miniseries did, then you've got these characters and you've got these worlds, and there are so many more stories to tell. You do it. You know, Chris, I remember when Hiroyuki Sanada signed up to do season 2, we said that's really big. That's the second most important thing.
Absolutely.
Do they get the same writers back on board? And now that it looks to me that they've done it, I think this is a no-brainer. And I'm glad they committed not just to 1, but to 2 more seasons. How do you see this?
I am cautiously optimistic.
That's a good phrase.
You know, sometimes when we run out of the existing IP, shows take a downward spiral. I don't think that's going to be the case here because we have actual history to go off of as well. So you can really explore some really interesting things that happen at Japan at this time with a stellar cast and some of the best writers out there. Also, just like side quest, what a really fun time for TV right now.
Oh, yeah.
The 3 best shows this year, in my opinion, are Shogun, Fallout, and X-Men 97. And those are so wildly different.
Yeah.
And there's merit to all of them. So more quality TV is always a great thing. I'm just hoping it hits that same echelon that we got this first season.
Yeah, and that's going to be tough. You know, I don't even need it to be as good as season 1.
I just want to exist in the same realm.
Yeah, if it's like 80% as good as season 1, I'm
Yeah.
good. But when you look at it where the season ended, it really ended at what felt like the beginning of a new chapter. You know, he's not Shogun yet. We're not there yet. There's still so much to do. And I think personally, this is great. Question is for you guys. What do you think about it? They've committed not just to one more, but 2 more seasons of Shogun. Good move, bad move, whatever you guys think. Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, you know, if you're ever going to talk about excellence this year, you got to talk about Madam Web, right? Well, this next story is about Madam Web. Jonathan, what do we got?
Well, we're all aware of how badly Madam Web bombed at the box office and with critics. Well, you know the old saying, all publicity is good publicity. It might be true, as Madam Web has not only debuted on Netflix, but has become their #1 movie on the platform. Chris, it's hard for me to get through this one. Does the instant success of Madam Web on streaming make you question reality?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. For why? What is happening? Black is white, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. It's all I can think. Honestly, though, this makes sense for it to be #1 on streaming right now because, let us be clear, this is a poo-perfect masterpiece of
Put that on the poster.
It is a poo-perfect masterpiece of bad movie, and it makes it for a really fun home watch with your friends. If you sit down, I mean, Logan and I joked about this on Instagram of how this is the greatest drinking game and how you need something to get through this movie. But if you watch this with your friends and you kind of room it, right? You take a Tommy Wiseau interactive approach to it and you yell stuff up. You finish your drink responsibly with a DD and all of those things, right? You finish your drink when she says, my mother was studying spiders in the Amazon. You do those things. It's a really fun communal experience. And honestly, at the end of the day, that's what movies are, even the bad ones, as long as you can have a fun time with people.
Poo Perfect is great for like the tagline for Blood and Honey Part 2.
Poo Perfect. Listen, I'll tell you what, I'm going to say this. It might surprise you. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised for a couple of reasons. Number one, nobody saw it in theaters. I mean, obviously made about the same amount of money as Godzilla -1 did. So like some people saw it, but I mean, in general, making about $100 million, essentially most people didn't see it, right? But it played theatrically and it's a major quote unquote superhero film.
So it could be up for an Oscar in Best Effects or something.
So yes, that's exactly what we were going here for. Best visual effects. The visual effects weren't any worse than the visual effects in Godzilla -1. I'm just saying. Hey, listen. As horrible as Madam Web was, among its biggest weaknesses. What? You're going to disagree with that?
No, but the budget was different.
I'm not going to say the movie was anywhere near as good as Godzilla -1.
It also is mostly because I just watched Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
And the black suit just looks like they went and used that for when Ezekiel's climbing on the ceiling in the tree.
Spider-Man?
Yeah. It looks like just they went, you know what? Let's use some of that Toby footage.
It was so bad. And I think that was actually a practical effect where they used wire work on the guys and it looked so bad.
like the 1960s or 70s.
Yes.
Where he just kind of goes like that.
Do you remember that footage from like the 1970s Spider-Man thing? That's what it looked like when those guys were going to the trees.
In Spider-Man 3, they talk about this a whole bunch too. I just talked to somebody about this. I talked to Aaron Fans about this, of how you don't want your Spider-Man to be practical because then he just looks like Tarzan or he looks just weird. It's a guy on a rope, right? But there's just something about Ezekiel in the train going and shimming his little booty around that looks so laughable. So
yeah, it's pretty, but it played in theaters. And because it played in theaters, it feels like a legitimate movie. John, are you saying movies that go to streaming aren't legitimate? No. I'm not saying that at all, but that's the perception for a lot of average moviegoers, right? That if it plays in theaters, it's a legit movie, and then it came to streaming, and now everybody who avoided it in theaters are like, oh, I should check it out because there it is. So I really shouldn't be all that surprised. Now, what I will be surprised about, if it's #1 again next week, then I'll have to ask some questions because if it's #1 again next week, I can guarantee you somewhere at a boardroom at Sony right now, executives are going, you know what? We should re-release this.
It's a smash hit.
It's a hit. We should put this back in theaters for a second run. It worked with Morbius. Why can't it work here? Yeah, so I'm not surprised. Now, actually, true story. Ray has said in this office this morning, before we started the show,
I'm excited
that he's going to watch it.
I'm going to watch it. I'm excited.
Because, and why were you excited to watch it again?
Because I fell asleep through most of it.
That's right. He fell asleep. He
So-
left me on my own when we
Yeah.
went to go see Madam Web, and he fell asleep.
See, my
He
plan
wants to watch it again.
that my day, I planned this like that movie screening like perfectly. I got so much food that I ate myself into a coma.
Oh, no.
And I went to
nice.
sleep. So I'm gonna actually watch it this time. Not gonna lie, if you look at my search history in Safari, it's
I don't think I want
no,
to
no.
search history in
There's one
Safari.
search that says, "When does Madam Web go to streaming?" And the day has come. I can't wait to see this thing, see what everyone's talking about. Yep.
I'm interested to see if you like it, right? Because you and Logan usually have the same taste.
Did you like it?
Logan hated this movie.
Okay,
He
well-
wanted a formal apology from this movie. So I'm very interested to see what you think.
It was so bad.
Yeah.
And you know me, I try to go through movies that I love and point out weaknesses, and I love to go through movies that I really dislike and point out things that were good. And man, I struggled with Madam Web.
The best thing going for it was that it felt like a movie from 2003. It
know what-
felt like a Spider-Man movie from then, but not as good.
You know what was a legit good thing in the movie? Adam Scott.
He
You could-
tried so hard.
He tried so hard to bring something redeemable. Like he actually felt like the one true movie character in it.
Yeah.
And not some kind of bad joke that they played on us all. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Are you now booking your evening to sit down in front of Netflix and watch the #1 film on the platform in Madam Web? What do you attribute that to? Whatever you guys think, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's get on to one of my favorite topics around here, shall we? Which is Deadpool and Wolverine. Jonathan, what do we got?
And Ray's favorite topic of film lengths. According to the Direct, AMC Theaters listed Deadpool and Wolverine on its website with a runtime of 127 minutes. That's 2 hours and 7 minutes. This would make the threequel the longest Deadpool movie in the franchise after 2016's Deadpool clocked in at 108 minutes, which calculates to an hour and 48. And 2018's Deadpool 2 ran for 119 minutes, which is an hour and 59. John, what do you think of the runtime for Deadpool and Wolverine?
I think, I'll be honest with you, longest runtime in the franchise, but it's still a relatively short runtime, right? Now, I was reading an outlet that I really like, so I'm not trying to trash on any outlet. I was reading an outlet today that I really, really like, right? But their headline on it was like, Deadpool 3 runtime breaks franchise record and will challenge bladders. But it's 2 hours and 7 minutes.
I challenge your black.
Yeah, it's ew.
Do you like take off the white glove and slap them across the face? Say, I
do you
challenge
slap
your
them with?
You
bladder."
hit him with a urinal cake.
Oh God.
What are we slapping with?
So,
How is the
but I want to
bladder
put this in context. Like granted, the longest one of the franchise. Okay, 2 hours, 7 minutes. That doesn't even come close to cracking the top 10 longest films in the MCU. Take a look at this. Like if we look at the list, obviously down there at the bottom, Avengers Endgame is the longest one the MCU's ever done at 3 hours and 2 minutes. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, 2 hours and 41 minutes. Eternals at 2:37. And then the number 10 longest one is still a full 10 minutes longer with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 at 2 hours and 17 minutes. Full 10 minutes longer. I don't even know if Deadpool will come in the top 15 as far as the longest films in the MCU go. Look, I think this is a really nice balance. Now, look, I may go and watch Deadpool and Wolverine and feel that this movie was 15 minutes too long or feel that it was too rushed and needed another 25 minutes. We won't know till we see it. Every movie has its own applicable runtime. But I will say this, hovering around the 2 hour mark, the Deadpool films have always felt to me, with the positives and the negatives, but the films have always felt to me absolutely the right length. Like that roughly 2 hour runtime for a Deadpool movie with the action and humor centric and all that kind of stuff, it seems to come in right on target for me. So 2 hours and 7 minutes, you know, what that tells us too is that with all the talk of cameos and things like that, they're not going to play major roles. Cameos are going to be quick cameos and they're going to move on. This is going to be a Wolverine and Deadpool movie. Yeah. They're going to stick to the major plot threads. Cameos will be there for little dashes of fun, but aren't going to influence things too much, I don't think. We'll find out. But I like the 2 hour and 7 minute runtime. Anyway, Chris, were you surprised by this?
No, this seems like a great time for this. And honestly, in a world where most movies are pushing 3 hours, I am very grateful for something circling that 2 hour mark. And it's all about how you use that time too. Madam Web is an hour and 56 minutes, and it feels like eternity. It feels like you're there forever. So in other movies, when they're great, you feel like, oh my gosh, I wish there was more, or oh, this was so perfectly paced. And I feel like that's hopefully what we're going to get here. Proof is going to be in the pudding. And I'm with you. I think that the cameos are going to be kind of just a flash in the pan. Hey, here's this person, and then we're going to move on. It's more about these guys. It's about that double whammy of the buddy we have in this film.
Ray, you are the one, I mean, as Jonathan pointed out. Now, is 2 hours and 7 minutes, is that in the acceptable range for you?
There's only a few exceptions, like to that rule of me not liking long movies. This is one of them. I just think this movie is going to be so entertaining. It's going to fly by. I mean, The Martian, my favorite movie of all time. That's a long movie, and I wanted more. I think Oppenheimer. I sat through that.
Oppenheimer.
Had to do it.
I was intensely watching Oppenheimer. That's how into it I was. I think this one I'm going to be dying of laughter the whole time. So I cannot wait to see this movie. It's been building up. Let's get this out. Let's all have a good time.
Yeah.
And to your point, Chris, that you brought up, movies have been getting longer and longer. I remember we did this stat. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but like the top 10 2023 movies were an average of almost 28 minutes longer than the top 10 movies of I think it was 2018. Like on average, 20 to 30 minutes longer. It used to be when a 3 hour movie would be out there, we'd be like, what? And today's like, oh, this one's 3 hours too. And so I kind of like maybe getting it back to the 2 hour mark. But again, this is just one movie and we'll see if this is the right length for it. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? It seems that Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be the longest of the Deadpool movies, but not actually all that long at 2 hours and 7 minutes. Does it sound right for you? Still sound too long? Maybe too short? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, we still have a number of things to talk about. We're going to talk about If, a movie I went to go see last night. Also, the Spider-Verse series Silk has been canceled, and Megalopolis now has its reviews out, and it's not pretty. We're going to talk about that and a few things more, but before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, Miracle Made. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, Miracle Made. Did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Inspired by NASA, Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so that you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. When they arrived at our house, my wife Ann loved the feel of them so much, she couldn't even wait for me to get home to put them on our bed. Miracle Made has self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevents up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. Miracle Sheets also have incredible comfort and quality. Miracle Sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. So go to TryMiracle, that's TryMiracle.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you will get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to TryMiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's TryMiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. And thank you to our friends at Miracle Made for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? The new John Krasinski film, If, is now out in theaters. And it was a really interesting juxtaposition. It came out, the first reactions came out last week that were very strong. Like none of them saying best movie of the year or anything, but the first reactions were very strong. And so when the actual Rotten Tomatoes score came out and the review embargo lifted, I was surprised to see a 51%. 51% on it, which is, I like unfortunate to see. Now it's got an 87% audience score on it, but still 51%. I thought, okay, I guess I should prepare myself that maybe I may not love this one. That's okay. There's a lot of, or at least a number of Ryan Reynolds films I don't like. 6 Underground should be exactly there, 6 Underground. The one Ryan made with one of my other favorite movie stars, Dwayne Johnson, in Red Notice was terrible. So it's not like I like every Ryan Reynolds film. So I'm like, all right, maybe I just got to prepare myself that this is not one I'm going to like. No problem. I got Deadpool coming. I'm not gonna beat around here, guys. I love this movie. I loved it. And you know me, all film is subjective, right? And so when I go see movies I love, I go, yeah, I can get why other people may not like it. Or when I see a movie I really dislike, I go, you know what? I hated it, but I can see why other people would like it. Guys, I don't understand. I love this movie. Do I think it's going to be a top 5 movie of the year? No. But I ended up loving this movie because I'll tell you what do I always say movies are? They're experiential events, right? And I came out of If feeling. The whole movie made me feel. And that's the main goal of any movie, right? Is to make the audience feel, whether it's feel fear or feel tension or feel shock
or nausea,
or
like Madam Web,
or nausea, or drunk, depending on what you're doing.
That might have been the nausea.
Or whatever else it is. Movies are designed to make you feel something. And I'll tell you what, I think what John Krasinski did in this movie is remarkable in the way that without it feeling manipulative, because you can tell when a movie's trying to make you feel something, right? Without doing it in a way that felt manipulative, John Krasinski found a way to, from the beginning of the movie all the way through the end, to make me feel. Now, the basic idea of the story that is communicated in the trailers is that a young 12-year-old girl comes back to New York City where, when she was much younger, she experienced a loss. And it's there that she discovers the world of imaginary friends. Imaginary friends whose kids have grown up and now they're looking for new kids and they need help to try to get paired up with new kids and all this kind of stuff. That's the basic premise of the movie that we all saw. The movie has several twists and turns. And I saw one person who did an initial reaction say, the movie starts off feeling like just a charming kids movie, but it turns into a deeply emotional adults movie at the same time. And I'm gonna tell you this quick story. There's a moment in it. You see a glimpse of it in the trailer where there's a teddy bear character, Louis, voiced by the late great Louis Gossett Jr. And he's talking to the young girl, and it's something he says to her. I think there's a part of it in one of the trailers. He says, you never fully forget someone you truly love. And I'm not going to say what happens immediately after that, because that's not in the trailer. But I remember I was sitting there watching this, and I've told many stories about, the guy who was my best friend growing up, and he died a few years ago. It very much reminded me of that. And I won't say why, because that would be spoiling something in the movie. And I just remember feeling heartbreak, and then heartbreak transitioning into joy because of something they do in the movie, right? And my wife, Anne, just forget about it. She was ugly crying through like half of the movie. It's just half the movie. She was just like ugly crying, which is good, both because of sad things, but because of beautiful, charming, wonderful, warm things that happen. It is a movie that is filled with warmth. Now, I will say this, it moves too slow. I think Krasinski could have done a better job with the pacing of the film, because that is something I noticed throughout. I think it needed to move a little bit quicker. I don't think we even meet our first if until 30 minutes into the film. I might be off by a couple of minutes, but by the time the first if showed up in the movie, I looked at my watch and I think we were a good 30 minutes into the film. So I think the setup of the movie took a little bit too long. That's my biggest criticism, was the pacing of it. And then some of it dragged a bit. And there's a bit of a twist later on that I think was very, very predictable, but whatever. At the end of the day, though, like I said, to me, movies are experiential events. And to anybody who watched this movie and didn't like it, that's the subjectivity of film. Movies are art and they hit us all in different ways. And I do accept it, but I don't necessarily understand it, because I walking out of this film, it just reminded me about why I love movies so much. You know, I just walked out feeling so much. My heart was full. It was warm. I'd gone on a bit of an emotional roller coaster and made great observations about life. There's a line in the film. Well, I won't give you any context, so you don't know what it pertains to. But there's a line in the film where saying it's when kids grow up that they need their imaginary friends the most. And that becomes a theme throughout the movie as well. And I'm like, man, it made me and Anne have this great in-depth conversation as we were driving home. And it's just made me think a lot in the now 14 hours since I've seen the film. I adore this film. Again, am I saying this should be nominated for Best Picture of the Year? No, I'm not saying that. But for me, it is a warm, wonderful, emotionally satisfying, charming film. And personally, all due respect to everybody else who saw it and didn't like it, because it's all film subjective. That's cool. But I think John Krasinski's done it again. And he's just now, for me, becoming a director. I will get on a plane and fly to other countries if I have to watch whatever his next film is. Anyway, Chris, I know you haven't had a chance to see it yet, but where's your expectation levels been? You know, the stuff you've been hearing?
You know, I was really excited about going to see this. I really thought this looked very, very charming and everything. And I did get a little disheartened by the divide on this one of just some people loving it, some people hating it. We'll talk about another director doing this in a moment. But I love when a director makes a big swing and does something that we haven't seen from them. And I think that's the thing I was most looking forward to with this, and still am. To be clear, I'm still going to go see this movie and everything too, especially after you giving it a glowing review. I just feel like, I don't know what other people were expecting based on some of the reviews I've seen, I guess. Because I've heard about some things with this being a colder movie or just not the friends you would want to have or imagine. And I feel like maybe some people just like woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I don't know. I opted to see Babes this week, which I highly recommend for everybody to go see.
That's when they showed at CinemaCon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, listen. So if you haven't gone to see this movie yet, do your due diligence. I mean, like I said, the movie is literally a coin flip amongst the critics. Like only 51% of them liked it, 49% didn't. I have no explanation for that personally, but read some of the other reviews, make a decision. But for me personally, my recommendation is go see this and go see it with somebody you care about. I had a really good time watching it. I'll look forward to watching it again. And I'm just glad that, Reynolds didn't give us another crappy Red Notice. So anyway, guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to see If? If so, what did you think about it? Do you agree with me? Maybe you agree with the half of the critics that didn't like it. All film is subjective. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. A little bit earlier, we were just talking about Madam Web. Well, there's another property coming to us, at least it was, in this extended Sony Spider-Man less Spider-Verse. That was going to be Silk, but apparently not anymore. Jonathan, what do we got?
Well, according to Variety, the Silk Spider Society live-action series has been scrapped at Amazon. The show was originally greenlit in November of 22, and a deal with Sony Pictures Television to develop a suite of shows based on Marvel characters that Sony controls. The Walking Dead alum Angela Kang was on board as executive producer and showrunner, with Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, and Amy Pascal as executive producers on the series. According to an individual with knowledge of the situation, Sony will try to shop the series to other buyers. John, are you surprised at the cancellation of Silk?
Despite the fact that I was really curious to see it, because you had a really good showrunner, you had Lord and Miller on as executive producers, and it's a really interesting character, I'm not surprised. Look, all Amazon has to do, and I'm glad Sony's going to shop it around to see if somebody else wants to pick it up and greenlight it, but all Amazon has to do is sit back and say, okay, you had Venom, but your live action stuff outside of Venom has been Morbius and Madam Web. And they are laughingstocks. They are literally laughingstocks. Like, I've literally been in conversations with friends and somebody would just say, Madam Web, and people will just start giggling. That's not a good sign. Sony executives, that doesn't mean you re-release it. It's not a good sign. Same thing happened with Morbius. And so I think Sony probably took a look at this, or Amazon took a look at this and said, We're on real good footing right now with The Boys and Fallout, and we got some big things coming. Do we really want to lower the standards and risk something? Again, I wish it was happening because of the people involved. Lord and Miller were not the producers of Madam Web. I think that could have been something kind of neat, but I'm not surprised at all that this got canned. Now, the question becomes, will it get picked up somewhere else? And I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to guess no. I don't think this is going to get picked up anywhere else. Because on top of the fact that you have the struggling track record of Morbius and Madam Web, who's ever heard of Silk? I mean, outside of this room...
I got so proud.
Yeah, I mean, outside of this room and outside maybe your most geekiest inner circles for those of you watching, who's heard of Silk? Like nobody. So you've got all that working against it. Not that you can't make a show with an unknown character, but you can't make a show with a completely unknown character bringing the baggage of Morbius and Madam Web along with it. So do I hope it gets picked up? Absolutely, I do. Especially with The Walking Dead, with Lord and Miller, all that kind of stuff. A fascinating character. I hope it gets picked up. But I'm not surprised they dropped it, and I don't think that it'll get picked up again. Anyway, Chris, what are your thoughts on all this?
It's honestly kind of a shame because Silk is a very interesting character, and it sucks that the stench of these other films ruined this because of a reimagining of Madam Web, a character who exists in Spider-Man IP and was utilized in a really ineffective way here. Same thing with Morbius. Same thing with these other things. Because Silk is a comic book character who explores those darker things that I think Sony wants to do desperately. Mm-hmm. This character explored trauma. This character explored grief and just had a lot of traits too that are not necessarily seen as heroic. Because of Silk being kept in a bunker and all these other things, she lacks a lot of social grace. She gets jealous very easily. She's incredibly territorial. This is a relatively new character for you guys who haven't checked her out yet. She premieres in Amazing Spider-Man back in 2014. But a really cool character who also got bit that same day that Peter did. And I think this could have been a really interesting series. And I liked that it was going to be a series too, because then you have the time to fully explore that character. But it makes sense. Why would you put out content if it's not firing on all cylinders, if people are not wanting to come back? Because now Sony has to get us to trust them again with this IP. Because so many people fully believe that Sony is tanking the IP. They fully believe that they are just doing bad, batshit things to keep ownership of Spider-Man. And I think a lot of people do kind of enjoy that conspiracy theory and also just are hesitant to give any of the Spider properties or any of those kinds of Spider adjacent properties a chance. I think this is really telling too that, we just had Noir greenlit, but is that even going to happen? Is Craven going to be kind of the nail in the coffin that makes us all go, nope, we're never going to see a Sony thing again that has Spider IP in it other than the Spider-Verse things? It's just been really troubling how they've handled all of this stuff. And if it was great scripts, if it was great content, maybe somebody else would buy it. But I think there's just too much of a stink on it.
It's funny too. Like, because I thought about the Spider-Man Noir things, like why the one and not the other. And I guess the difference between something like Silk and Spider-Man Noir are two things. One, there's an instant novelty factor with Nicolas Cage being attached,
Absolutely.
Right? And then the second thing is this is a character, although I don't know if they're going to say it's the same character, but it's essentially the same character coming out a wildly beloved movie in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So like that had that going for it. Those are both two things that Silk doesn't have going for it. And I really, listen, I hope so hard that Craven is awesome. I hope so hard that Craven is awesome. But I mean, I don't blame Amazon at all for getting out of the game. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Were you surprised to hear the Silk got canceled? I wouldn't blame you at all if you even forgot that it was coming in the first place. Do you think anybody else will pick it up? Do you think maybe the fact that Lord and Miller being attached as the producers on this thing would move the needle for people, or maybe not at all? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's talk about this, shall we? There's a little movie from Francis Ford Coppola coming called Megalopolis, and we've not been hearing great things about it, but it just got screened. So what are we hearing right now, Jonathan?
Well, the new Francis Ford Coppola film, Megalopolis, sorry, screened for its first public audience at Cannes yesterday, and the reviews are wildly all over the place, from a utter mess to ill-conceived to a dedication to cinema. Although I feel like a dedication to cinema is just them being nice. John, what did you make of the reviews for Megalopolis?
They're pretty much exactly what I expected, to be honest. You know, we heard they did a screening for it for potential distributors a while back, and the word was not good. The word was it's not good. These are the distributors, the people who, know film probably as good as or better than anybody else, and knowing what audiences will want to respond. And a lot of them just said it was problematic. Well, now the reviews have come out because it's screened publicly, and I think last I checked, it's at 45%, which frankly is better than I thought it might be. But even the people who are saying they like it are saying things like, and we'll get to some of these, is like, yeah, this is a batshit crazy, all over the place, completely unfocused mess. But man, is Coppola dedicated to his own vision. I mean, and that's the positive review. Anyway, let's go over and take a look at some of the reviews that are coming out of the Cannes Film Festival, shall we? One of the top critics from Financial Times writes, perhaps the kindest thing one can say about Megalopolis is that it will probably remain largely unwatched and be quickly forgotten. Another top critic at the Irish Times writes, seconds, minutes, hours, and it seems anyway, days assert their presence unforgivingly as the film staggers its way to nowhere worth going. If you don't enjoy the first 5 minutes, then gird your loins. It's like that all the way through.
It's like he's crossing the Sahara.
Now, another top critic over at Inverse gave it a positive review. Sort of. It said, a bunch of ideas smashed together into a garish, baffling, dazzling, kind of atrocious and totally audacious rejection of the cinematic form. It should never have been made. And yet, now that it has, we should be so grateful that it exists. I'm very confused by that.
Yeah.
It should have never been made, but I'm glad that it did. And they liked it. Okay. Top critic over the Daily Beast wrote, Megalopolis is a stilted, earnest, over-the-top, CGI-ridden, and utterly a mess. And yet you can picture a crowded theater shouting along with Jon Voight as he says in one key scene, what do you make of this boner I got? Is that the new sound clip for your soundboard, Jonathan? What do you
Working on that one right now.
What do you make of the boner I got?
If I had a nickel for every time.
Another top critic from the Times writes, this is 138 stultifying minutes of ill-conceived themes, half-finished scenes, nails along the blackboard performances, word salad, dialogue, and ugly visuals, all seemingly in search of a story that isn't there. Screen International, another top critic, writes, Megalopolis is stymied by an arbitrary, plotting, and numbing excess. One can feel Coppola's anger and sorrow over the decline of his beloved America, but narrative coherence is far less apparent. Donald Rooney from The Hollywood Reporter, top critic, writes, I can't say I always engaged over its 2 hours plus runtime, but I was always curious about where it was going next. Is it a good movie? Not by a long stretch. But it's not one that can be easily dismissed either. And then the Los Angeles Times critic Joshua Rothkopf writes, once you let go of the understandable dream of Coppola returning with another masterpiece, there is so much to enjoy in Megalopolis, especially its cast members leaning into their moments with an abandon that was probably a job requirement. So kind of what these reviews are basically right along the lines of what we heard from the distributor screening a couple of weeks back when the distributors watched it, and where the word really first started going around, there's not going to be a distributor that picks this up. And I'm not surprised at all, unfortunately, by what we're reading. Now, the one thing that Megalopolis has going for it is that the other day, the CEO of IMAX said that they're going to be committed to screening Megalopolis in IMAX in at least a limited capacity. Now, personally, I think that was just a favor they were doing to Francis Ford Coppola to try to make the movie look more attractive to distributors, because that's what they're doing at Cannes. They're trying to get a distributor. And by tagging on to Megalopolis now, hey, IMAX is already making a commitment that they'll at least screen it, at least limited. And maybe that becomes more appealing to an exhibitor and a distributor. But I don't know. It sounds like this thing is destined to be dumped on streaming somewhere. Anyway, and I haven't seen it. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I haven't seen it.
Could be number one on Netflix.
It could be number one on Netflix. I mean, listen, I've been very excited about it. It's Francis Ford Coppola. It's the master. It's the guy who gave us The Godfathers. Come on. But I mean, it kind of sounds like it is what it is. Anyway, Chris, you're reading about this. What have you been hearing? What do you think of the reviews? Where's your anticipation level for it? What do you think?
Ooh, I mean, is it weird that these reviews make me more excited? I really love that everyone's like, it's trash, but kind of fun. It makes me really want to watch it. I've just heard over and over again how this is a very bonkers film and how it's all over the place with Coppola wanting to say a lot about a lot of different things. So I'm interested to see it. And again, I like when a director stretches and goes outside their usual wheelhouse and their usual comfort zone. Having him dive into sci-fi and do this grand big epic that he funded himself has had me intrigued from the beginning. Now, does that mean this is going to be a good movie? No, it does not. But I'm still absolutely going to see it. I'm interested to know why people are so divided on it. I guess that's my big thing. Same with If, right? I want to watch this so I can see empathetically why somebody else would go, this is so not for me and this is so bad, and why other people would go, oh my gosh, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
To be fair, I'm not hearing a lot of them saying it's one of the greatest things they've ever seen.
That's going to be mostly the Coppola sweeties. But I love how many people in the chat here are saying they're definitely seeing this in IMAX now that they've heard these horrible
If they can,
reviews.
if they get there.
I personally don't think it's going to play in IMAX. I don't think they're going to get a distributor. I mean, I don't know, which kind of sucks because there's a romanticism about the idea of the man, Francis Ford Coppola, coming out self-financing his personal swan song. And you want this thing to be audacious and you want it to be great. But I think what really concerns me is how many critics that I know that want a Coppola film to be big and audacious and bonkers. And they want it to be that. And yet they saw this movie and hated it. And that worries me. But I don't know. Maybe this is going to be like an If. Maybe I go in and see this, although If has better critic score than this one did.
Yeah.
Maybe this is one of those films I go in and watch. I come out and I go, I don't get why people didn't love this. Maybe either you guys at all, but let's be honest, are either of you guys at all interested in this movie?
Yes.
You are?
I am, for sure. It's just,
Now,
I'm kind of like on board
is it
with
because
Chris.
of Coppola? Because I admit, for me, that's 95% of why I'm interested in is Coppola.
It's I guess not just Coppola, but the fact that he sold his winery. This is it's like you said, his swan song, what he put into it, but also because it does sound like something that you really have to absorb in. And I don't think it. Maybe I'm giving it more credit than it's due. Maybe it's like one of those films you have to watch a couple or 3 times to absorb it all, or maybe it just is a mess.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to make that choice for myself, you know? This isn't like a Madam Web where I know, like, I don't need to go see that. I know that's going to be awful and campy and just whatever.
Yeah.
But this feels like
Cinema.
maybe I'll try to learn something from it. I don't know. Like, it could be cool. Maybe it won't be. So I am interested. I'm going to see it if it gets released.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll be available somewhere, and I'm definitely going to watch
I
it.
have to go to France.
Here's the other interesting angle to this.
Yeah.
Now, some of you may not know this, but just recently, Adam Driver fired his management. And he's signed on with new agents. Because I honestly think Adam Driver is one of the finest actors out there. But he has been in nothing that has hit. Take a look at this.
Although
So-
Ferrari was a good performance.
And yeah, but what did it do?
Nothing.
It did nothing. So he's got Megalopolis, which apparently no one's going to see. Ferrari, which nobody saw. 65, which I actually had kind of fun with, but nobody saw it. Squarespace, The Singularity. I don't know anything
What?
about that.
Huh.
White Noise,
It's a short.
which
That was a
nobody
short.
saw. House of Gucci, which not a lot of people saw. The Last Duel, which not a lot of people saw. And now you're getting back into 2021 territory with Star Wars, or 2019. Marriage Story was awesome, stuff like that. But it's like, He's like one of the finest actors who can't get into anything good.
Well, Marriage
apparently.
Story should have launched excellence. He's so good in that. He's
Oh,
so
he
wonderful
could have
in
won
that.
the Oscar for
Absolutely.
that. He could have won it.
And you would think after that film, it would have been he has his pick of roles, and maybe he did, and maybe that's why the team is going the way of the dodo here. But it's so odd to see that kind of trajectory, or I guess lack thereof, happen after such an excellent performance.
Was he in that movie? Because I guess you'd have to scroll down, but where they play like FBI agents and they're infiltrating the Ku Klux Klan?
Yes.
Yes.
Black Klansman.
Black Klansman, yeah.
He's
That was
incredible
great.
in that too.
Yeah.
That's such a
Yep,
good movie.
2018.
There you go, yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
by the way.
He's really good in Gucci.
Paul Walter Hauser was in that.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Of
Yeah.
course he was.
That's Paul Walter Hauser. We just live in his world. We just didn't
He
realize
needs
it.
Paul Walter Hauser's team.
Yeah.
That's who he needs
Listen,
to be working with. They're doing
He
great with
was
him.
great in The Report. He was great in Marriage Story. He was great in Black Klansman. He was great in Ferrari. He was great in House of Gucci. It's just that like he's coming along and giving great performances and things in movies that aren't going anywhere. And so I really hope that with new management that maybe he can start getting in there because he deserves to have a higher profile. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The reviews are coming out for Megalopolis, and they are completely all over the place, mostly skewing negative. Do you think it'll actually pick up a major distributor? I'm guessing it won't, but who knows? I'm excited to see it just because it's Francis Ford Coppola. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live questions. But before we do, we're going to take another quick moment here and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at Cuts Clothing. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Cuts Clothing. Let's be real. Most guys would wear a t-shirt every day of their lives if we could. The problem is that most t-shirts are not acceptable to wear at work or out on a hot date. Today's sponsor, Cuts, has finally changed that. Cuts t-shirts are such high quality, wrinkle-free, and so buttery soft that you can look like you're dressing up even when you're dressing down. Yeah, you heard that right. They are wrinkle-free. And for a limited time, you can save money while redefining the dress code by heading to cutsclothing.com and use the code Campea for 20% off. Guys, you know me, when it comes to clothing, my number one priority is comfort, and I could not believe just how comfortable my cut shirt was. It was light, it breathed, it felt like $1,000,000, and it made me feel like I looked like $1,000,000 too. And the best part? Cuts Clothing is built to last. Their durable construction means you'll be enjoying your favorite shirts and pants for years to come, making them a smart investment for your wardrobe. So guys, for a limited time, our listeners get 20% off your entire order when you use the code Campea at checkout. That's 20% off your order at cutsclothing.com with the promo code Campea. Please support our show by telling them that the John Campea Show sent you. Experience the perfect blend of style and comfort with Cuts Clothing. And thank you to our friends at Cuts Clothing for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that all down, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
First up, we've got Sanchez Guy. Hey guys, great news. A brand new trailer for Horizon, an American Saga dropped today, and it was awesome. I'm really excited for these two movies.
Yeah, like I said, Kevin Costner came out on stage at CinemaCon and gave us a really good presentation and talked a lot about this. I mean, he's been trying to get this movie made for, what did he say, 20 years?
Yeah.
He's been working for like 20 years trying to get these movies made. And I think at one point he even considered giving up the lead role because he thought maybe he's getting too old to play the lead role from what he originally envisioned, but he's doing it himself anyway. I got to tell you, I don't know if these movies will be the next Dances with Wolves or if it'll be the next The Postman. But I'm down to give it a shot. Obviously, look, I've loved Kevin Costner as a performer for a long time. I love him as a filmmaker. He's an Academy Award-winning director. And hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's more Dances with Wolves than it is The Postman, but we'll see. All right, what's next?
We got Juliana Goodwin. Hey guys, did you know these are now musicals? Back to the Future, Death Becomes Her, The Outsiders, Devil Wears Prada, and Betty Boop. I knew a few of those.
I knew a couple of those, yeah.
Yeah.
Ever since Spider-Man became a musical. Didn't you two write the music for that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't work out. This is like the only thing you two
No.
ever did that didn't really work out. That and
So badly.
forcing their new album on everybody's iPods.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the other thing that didn't work out so well with them. All right, what's next?
Like you literally couldn't delete it.
Exactly. So weird.
James Germain says, "Hey guys, rewatching Angel and have to say it holds up. Knowing Lauren's brother Numfar is actually Joss Whedon doing the dance of joy is just priceless. Numfar, do the dance of joy." Did you guys ever watch Angel? That
Are
was
we
a-
talking about the TV show?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was a spin-off of
Buffy.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll hot take. It was better than Buffy.
Ooh.
Oh.
I thought Angel was a better show than Buffy was.
See, I only watched Buffy.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I really liked Angel. I think they developed their characters better.
What was his name?
David Boreanaz.
David Boreanaz.
Boreanaz,
yeah.
yeah.
I had his picture in my locker next to Jimmy Fallon.
The
And I liked
Aurora
them both for
Boreanaz.
very different reasons.
You know, he's kind of like Nathan Fillion.
I literally was just thinking that.
He's a little bit like Nathan Fillion, where Nathan Fillion will always be most known and most beloved for Serenity,
Right.
or Firefly, you know, the same thing. That literally lasted one season. Yet he's literally gone on to have a couple of shows that have been far more successful than that one. What was the one he did where he was like the private investigator?
Bones.
Castle?
Castle.
Or Castle.
Yeah, Bones is the one
David
that David
Boreanaz
did.
was Bones. So he
Yeah.
did Castle, and now he's got The Rookie, which is on like season 5 or something
Yeah,
like that.
I finally watched the pilot of that the other day.
I like The Rookie.
It's a good show.
It's a fun little show. I like it.
Yeah.
So, but
like
everybody
the
don't
same
think that.
people,
And
sort
David
of.
Boreanaz did
I
Bones,
mean, really.
which was crazy successful.
Yeah. That
Massively
was on
popular.
for years.
It's like one
And then
system
he
A
did
added
like
the other.
some show where he's in the military. He's like what anybody in the live chat know the show I'm talking about? He's like a Marine.
Sergeant Bones.
No, it's not
But
Sergeant.
he was in Bones.
SEAL Team.
SEAL Team.
SEAL
okay.
Team. The Navy SEAls. That's what it's called. Navy SEAls or SEAls was the name of the show.
That's a
whatever. I
great
never
name.
watched it, but that was big, like more successful to him than Angel is. But everybody, when they think of David Boreanaz, they're gonna think Angel. And I loved Angel. It was a really shame. Angel was one of those things where they found out halfway through filming their final season that it was going to be their final season. They thought they had another season. And so with only half the season left to go, they changed everything, and you could tell they were rushing to the finish line to try to wrap up the series, and you could feel it. But I do love, like, at the last line of it, the last line in the last scene of the show is Angel and his allies standing there, and this horde of demons with a big giant dragon running at them.
Did they drain it?
Did they drain the dragon? Yeah. Chris wasn't here for that. She
Yeah,
doesn't
that was a
understand
rough-
the reference.
Deep
Happening.
I'll explain it to Chris in a minute. But, and then I think Angel gets the last line where he says something along the lines of, "I want to kill the dragon," which was kind of fun. So it ended on kind of a fight cliffhanger. It was kind of a mess, but yeah, I loved Angel. I thought it was good. Just so you know, we were talking about How to Train Your Dragon the other day.
Okay.
And as we were talking about it, Rob had one of my kiss kiss gangbang moments
Oh,
where he was
no.
talking about How to Train Your Dragon, and he accidentally said How to Drain Your Dragon.
Yeah, how to drain.
And
the
I was
dragon.
like, did you just say how
Robert?
to drain your dragon?
Oh, golly.
Phrasing.
Yeah.
All right. What's
He's
next?
a mess.
Brandon says, no, Christopher Brickner says, would you call X-Men 97 a win for Disney Plus?
100%. 100%. And I'll say go further than that. An unexpected win. Not unexpected for me, unexpected for Disney Plus. I don't think they realized how good the show would actually end up being and all this kind of stuff. Of course, I'm just waiting for all the muck feeding trolls to go, "It's so woke," because Morph admitted his romantic love for Wolverine. But I mean, whatever. The show was a win. It was great. I think it's a little overrated. But I say that as somebody who stayed up till midnight every week to make sure I could watch a new episode because I enjoyed it so much. Like, I really liked it. I liked it a lot. It was a worthy successor to the original thing. And yeah, I thought it was great. But Chris, you think it's like one of the 3 best shows
I
this
do.
year.
I genuinely do. I'm so obsessed with it. And I think it was done so well. And also everyone who does it's so woke. Tell me you never read an X-Men comic without telling me you never read an X-Men
yeah.
comic is how I feel about it.
Like that's the thing. Like, these people don't realize, you do know that you are the villain in every single X-Men
Yeah.
thing. Like, you're the villain of every single X-Men thing. Anyway.
They said some great stuff in that show. Just every Magneto line basically is just like,
Oh,
can
it's so
I
good.
put that in a frame somewhere? Oh, so amazing.
All right. What's next?
Brandon says, not sure if you've heard this, but multiple scoopers online are saying that Deadpool 3 tickets are going on sale on Monday. Exact time isn't known.
We'll see. I mean, tickets going on sale is not usually news that leaks because
Yeah, they want you to know that.
want you, the studios want you to know.
It's kind of their thing.
So, I mean, we'll see. That, again, I'm not saying it won't. Let's be very clear. I'm not saying they won't go on sale on Monday. I'm just saying I'm not going to count on that until I hear it from a more official source. But if it does, be ready for Ticket Watch. As long as it's not like dropping at midnight, we will be doing a Ticket Watch. Provided they officially let us know when the tickets are going on sale, we will be doing a Ticket Watch for Deadpool Wolverine. Because I'm expecting some fireworks. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Isaac Martinez says history is repeating itself for Coppola.
In which way?
Because I don't feel like this is like a alien director. I don't feel like it's this situation with him, where he just kind of keeps putting out
Ridley?
movies. Yeah, Ridley.
Yeah. I mean, I know people didn't really believe in The Godfather. If we're taking
Well,
that,
all you got to
stance.
do is go and
But
watch.
then you watch it.
What was the name of the show again on Paramount Plus?
Oh, The Offer.
The Offer. By the way, everybody, go and watch The Offer.
How I haven't watched that yet is beyond me.
100% everybody should watch the Offer. It's so good. Do they take some liberties? Yes, but the basic bones of the story are there about how The Godfather got made.
Show.
And it's really, really so good. All right, what's next?
Christopher Brickner says the Star Wars sequel characters were made to be the face of Star Wars for years. How bad is it for the sequel's reputation if the Rey movie fails?
The sequels, I mean, look, the sequels already don't have a reputation. That's just it. That's worse than bad. They just have to, nobody cares. And listen, and I'm one of the more positive people. If you look around, I am one of the more positive people about the sequels. Like, I really loved The Force Awakens. I think that movie was great. And then you got The Last Jedi, which there are things I loved about it, things I hated about it. And then it continued its descent into madness with the Last Skywalker, or The Rise of Skywalker, which was just horrendous. And I'm one of the more positive people. I will still to this day, and look, I look forward, I hope beyond hope to come out of the Rey movie and go, oh my God, I was wrong. This is the movie that's going to reignite everybody's passion for Star Wars. This was such a good decision. I hope that happens. I really do. But I wish I could have been a fly on the wall in the room where somebody said, you know what I think people really want right now? Another movie about Rey. And I say this as somebody who likes the character. And I love Daisy Ridley. Her new one, where she's the woman who swims across the channel. Like, I'm really looking forward to that. I love Daisy Ridley. I like the character of Rey very much in general. I don't like how they handled her, but I like the character. And I am saying, what on earth are you thinking? What on earth are you thinking making this movie? It's a stupid decision. And I hope I'm proved wrong, but man, this is one of the most confounding, confusing, like this has got to be a joke kind of thing that they just say, you know what? Let's take the single most divisive things amongst Star Wars fans since the garbage prequels, and let's double down on it. Let's make the next one Rey. Let's make the next... What? Anyway, I hope I'm wrong.
This is going to be you coming out of Rey movie.
Yeah. I hope so. I hope so.
What is that? I can't even see it.
Somebody in the live chat I think it was all my sense. It's like Sony come out saying, you know what? We got to recuperate. We got to rehabilitate the image of Sony Spider-Verse movies. Let's make another Madam Web. That's what's going to get everybody back on board. That's exactly what this is with them doing another Rey movie. It's crazy to me. Anyway, all right. What's next?
What is next? Kyle Schneider wants quick thoughts, guys, on Challengers. Quick. Did anyone see Challengers? This might be real quick.
Okay, I still haven't gone because the majority of my friends didn't want to go see it, which was very annoying. So
I was late to the game, but I saw it. Good movie. Mm-hmm. It strengthens my belief that Zendaya, as much as I wasn't a big believer in her at first when she first showed up on the scene, she is we are still going to be talking about her in 20 years. She is going to have I'm not saying she's the next Cate Blanchett. Okay. I'm not saying she's the next Cate Blanchett, but she's going to have a Cate Blanchett-like career where she's going to be in everything she's in. She's going to deliver, and she's going to be a A-lister, I think, for a long time. The movie was not as good as I was hoping it would be, but I enjoyed it. It's a good movie, and Zendaya's proven once again she's for real.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
Hayden Centaur says that they're graduating high school in 4 days.
Hey, congratulations,
Very
man.
young. Very young.
Moving on to the more difficult levels now.
Yeah, graduating.
All right, what's next?
All right. Vastal Tawari says, I'm no sewer chud, and I think all day about the Roman Empire. Can't believe Francis Ford Coppola is working on a new movie while Tarantino is headed for retirement.
Again, you know what I think about that. Tarantino ain't retiring. He'll say he's retiring. He thinks he's retiring, but he's not going to be retiring. By the way, there are a lot of people out there who are acting like this is the first like Francis Ford Coppola movie since The Godfather. No, like bring this up, John. No, he's directed a lot. There's nothing we talk about. This isn't like Francis Ford Coppola did The Godfather Part 3 and then went into hibernation and then emerged with the dawn of spring and said, I'm going to do a movie called Megalopolis, and this is his first thing. No, he's directed a lot. He's been around. But yeah, again, I don't believe for a second that Quentin Tarantino's about to retire.
I just figured he was maturing in one of his wine barrels.
Yeah. Not till I'm ready. All right. What's next?
Like, all right, look at him. Noah Chant says, new cameo for Deadpool outfit with Mint Mobile sponsored Stitch on front of it.
Oh, I will not be surprised if there's a aviation gin, nor a Mint Mobile or a Wrexham joke at some point. One of those three will make an appearance in the movie. Quick joke, not a big theme, but something like that will be in there. All right, what's next?
Oh boy, Madam Web writes.
That's the username of the day.
We haven't heard a peep about Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless getting new projects since Madam Web came out. So there's that. It's a sad day.
Ooh, boy.
I mean, look, someday, maybe in the next 6 months or so, I'm going to make a full editorial video on the perplexed nature of how did you hire these two writers and actually think you were going to get a good movie out of it? I'm sorry, but these guys have, and I'm sure they're wonderful people, and I hate bagging on people who are professional, probably better writers than I'll ever be in my lifetime, but I'm not the standard of excellence. Guys who literally wrote some of the worst films ever, and these are the people you brought on to do Madam Web. I'll never understand what the thinking of Sony is. Like, guys, these are the same people who brought on Lord and Miller to do stuff. How do you then do that? I'll just never understand.
I have a feeling these are the guys they go to when they need something quick and fast.
I'll do something for you quick and fast. Yeah, never mind. Don't, I know I set myself up there. Don't go. I know I did it. I know I put a target on my own chest.
Because
there
like
when
you
I
guys
said
said,
that.
like you guys said, Sony has like this quota they have to meet, right? With the rights to Spider-Man, they have to release a movie ever so often.
Every number of years. But guess what? Lots of great movies get made within 2 years.
Yeah, they don't have to do a repeat of Corman's Fantastic Four.
See, that's the thing. Like Sony's just cranking out trash so they can meet the quota. Then why wouldn't they make good movies that make money?
Because they're also losing money.
Yeah, to meet the quota. I mean, the nature of the contract gives them plenty of time in between projects to properly develop and make a good movie.
Yeah.
Why do you get these guys?
Maybe they're friends with someone.
Maybe, yeah. All right, what's next?
We got David Maxwell who says, hey, John and crew, forgive me if you already knew this, but I was listening to Emily Blunt on Howard Stern, and she said that John Krasinski was in London shooting a Guy Ritchie movie. Exciting.
Ooh, I'm not aware of that. Guy
That's
Ritchie is doing a lot.
Guy Ritchie doesn't sleep, I don't think.
No.
He just wakes up and said, I got a movie.
Yeah, it's like, and he makes a movie in like 6.
So
It
does
feels like
Sony.
he's got to make a movie every 6 months because like his output is insane. It's
Yeah.
absolutely insane. All right, what's next?
Okay, Raymond says, after seeing your Madam Web news, Star Wars fans on Reddit and other non-trade sites are saying that Variety reports Phantom Menace is the most viewed Star Wars film on Disney Plus, though Variety had no sources.
That which one is the most viewed movie?
Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace.
Maybe
I
because of
could
the
see
fourth-
it.
Maybe because they just re-released it in theaters, so people are like, "I'll just watch it." On
I mean,
there.
yeah. I mean, I don't have any reason not to. I mean, clearly it's garbage, but I mean, it was the first. It was the first of the new ones. So yeah, I mean, there you go. I mean, listen, Madam Web is the #1 movie on Netflix. So there you go. All right, what's next?
Oh no, and I have a feeling I'm gonna like Madam Web because I like the Phantom Menace.
Tyler writes, "Hey John, what did you think of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish? If you watched it?"
We talked a lot about it.
Yeah, I think so.
That was a delightful movie.
Yeah.
It was a really charming,
That's
wonderful
Banderas
movie.
did the voice,
I
right?
forgot to mention.
Again, still.
Sorry, I hate to hijack this, but before the Blue Angels movie, there was a trailer for My Penguin Friend. Have you seen that trailer?
The posters were all over CinemaCon with
Oh my God, it looks delightful.
with Jean, the professional. Who's the professional?
John,
Why am I freezing on his name?
John Reno,
Jean
Yeah.
Jean
Jean Valjean.
John Reno.
Javert.
Jean Reno.
Yeah, Jean Reno. The posters were all over the place.
Watch that trailer after this. Just watch it. Man. You'll get. It's pretty good. It
All
looks
right.
like it's
Well,
pretty
back to the topic
good.
at
Yeah,
hand.
I'm sorry.
Which
Puss in
I now
Boots.
even I forget what we were even talking about.
Puss in
Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
Puss in Boots.
The last
Wonderful little
whatever.
movie. And seriously, the villain in it, the wolf,
Genuinely terrifying.
genuinely terrifying.
Could be the top terrifying animated villain.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it was for real. I mean, seriously, and then it gets very dramatic, and the humor in it was top notch. I think it was my favorite of the Puss in Boots thing. And then the ending, sailing off to what's the name of the place? Not Happily Ever After. Far, far away.
Far away.
Sailing into far, far away. That got
With the
everybody
Shrek music.
excited.
Oh.
Very exciting. All right, what's next?
We got Dwayne who says, "Glad you liked If John. I wasn't sure if I should watch it since it was rotten on the tomato meter, but I'll check it out now."
Again, listen, all film is subjective. Totally get it, but this is one that I just walked out of after. I mean, I walked out and I'm like, what did people miss or what were they looking for? But again, it's all subjective. My opinion is no more and more or less valid than anybody else's. But I personally adored the film. I just walked out feeling a lot, and that's the goal of a movie. All right, what's next?
Ryan Trabuco with a $50 super chat.
Whoa.
Wow, thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Hi, John and crew.
Ryan's a longtime viewer of ours.
Yeah, wishing y'all a very happy Friday. I love the news that Shogun is coming back with the same writers. Also super excited to go see If this weekend, and you have a great weekend too.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that, Ryan. And look, again, I couldn't be happier about the Shogun. I mean, I would have been thrilled just for season 2. But when the first news started to trickle out yesterday that they've just greenlit 2 and 3, and they've got Cosmo Jarvis back, and Hiroyuki Sanada has signed on, and then they got the original the writers back on and producers back on. It's like I couldn't be happier about it. And yeah, man, I just love going to the movie theater to watch movies, and it's just a extra good
sorry.
when it's If, and it's so good.
I
What?
just had this thought in my head. I was just like, Shogun's gonna have 3 seasons, and Blade's not even gonna be out yet.
Blade still won't be out. It's funny because it's true. All right, what's next?
Jack Fern says, "Do you think Tom Holland Spider-Man could cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine? They team up a lot in comics." I think we all pretty much are like, no, but that's the one that would
Yeah.
shock me if it was.
No, I don't think it's happening. Okay, they team up a lot in the comics. Yes, but this is not Deadpool and Wolverine and Spider-Man.
I also don't know if we're ready. How do I say this delicately? So Deadpool hits on Spider-Man a ton in the comics, a ton. And I think we still also are like, Tom Holland is a baby. I know he's not. He is an actual man. He is a grown man.
Is he in his 30s now? Ray, can you look up
Oh
his age?
yeah.
But he's still that Peter is so young.
Yeah.
that I think we'd have this moment of like, you can't talk to our kid like
27.
that. You
He's
can't talk
27.
to our son that way.
But he plays younger than 27,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, he does. Yeah, so no, I don't think so. Look, but is it possible? Of course it's possible. 100% is possible. But possible and likely are two different things. So I'll lean unlikely pretty strongly. So I don't think so. All right, what's next?
Matan says, now that it is confirmed 2 seasons of Shogun fan fiction feel like something Iger would order going by his action on Twin Peaks. He is starting to control FX, which Chapek didn't do.
No, that's preposterous. The guy who spearheaded wanting another season was Hiroyuki Sanada. He's the one who wanted it. And why not? The writers of this series created a brilliant world, gave us incredibly in-depth characters, better than the book ever did, to be honest. And I grew up reading this book, and I think they did a better job fleshing out and making these characters. And I loved the original miniseries. And this thing it exceeds the book. It exceeds the original miniseries. And when you do that good of a job crafting that world, like, what are you saying? Is the new Joker movie just fan fiction because it's a sequel to something that wasn't meant to have a sequel? That's preposterous. It's an absolutely ridiculous thing to say. Now, again, the second season may turn out to be bad. It might. Okay. But it would be absolutely, what's the best word I can use here? It would be negligent to not do more seasons of this. With the success it has, at the excellence level it was, and you have the same writers who wrote it, the same producers who produced it, and the cast who just fleshed them out, it would be preposterous not to do more. Just a really, really bad decision not to do more. And if it turned out bad, it turns out bad. But now with the same producers, same writers, same cast, I think they've got a bona fide thing. And by the way, now that they're doing more seasons, its categorization as a limited series has officially been changed to a drama series, which means it's going to clean up at the Emmys. Variety just wrote a great article on it as well. That says, they said Shogun right now is already the favorite for best series, best actor, best actress, best supporting actor, best direction. Like, it's already the front runner for all of them now. So it's, yeah. And for so many of you, because not a ton of people saw it, you need to go watch it. It's the best thing that's been on television in a while. All right, what's next?
We got the Usurper, who says, saw The Boy in Heron twice, so confounding. I liked it a lot.
I liked it too. I did not think it was the best animated film of the year, but I thought it was very, very good. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's classic to the style though, right? Like it's kind of what you expect, and that's not a bad thing. But yeah, I thought it was quite good. What's next?
Christopher Brickner says, I think they should do a Shogun prequel, show about Toranaga's rise, look at the real life person's early life. It's crazy with many brushes with death.
Not big on going backwards. You know that about me though, all right? Right? Already, I'm not a big thing on prequels. Not that I reject all of them. Some prequel material I really do like. I do. But in general, I would rather a story move forward than move backward. And really, because we are just getting to the point of seeing Toranaga's rise. Like, by the end of season 1, we're not at his full ascension. We're just at the beginning of it. And so I think there's a lot of story to tell there. All right, what's next?
We got Todd Fowler, who says, have fandoms always been this toxic? Yeah, they just didn't have like a microphone and a camera in front of them. Have fandoms always been this toxic? Doctor Who and ROP trailers have been dislike bombed. ROP season 2's teaser was pretty good, and most feedback to it was positive and constructive with trailer reactions.
I think the trailer, but here's what's working against Rings of Power. The trailer was okay, but it's a first trailer, right? Most first trailers aren't going to blow our socks off. So it was all right. It wasn't anything great. But what's working against it is that it's coming off of a season 1 that disappointed most people. Even people who were really enthusiastically excited about it, like me, it ended up disappointing me. And so when you come out with an okay trailer, that's what I'll say the Rings of Power first trailer was, an okay trailer. But when you put out an okay trailer for something that a lot of people are already disappointed about, you're going to turn down. Now, as far as the toxicity in fandom, yeah, I mean, it's honestly one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to retiring is like fandom today is a much less fun place to be. it's a much less fun place to be today than it has been in years before. There's been toxicity in fandom always, ever since fandom existed, but it's much more accessible, and we have enough people today normalizing the worst parts of humanity, the bigotry, the hate, the entitlement, the racism. We have today role models that embolden and normalize that sort of garbage behavior that we never used to normalize and say was okay. And so that emboldens everybody else out there to become as toxic as they are. And it's just in general made fandom a less fun place to be than it was, say, 10 years ago. But I mean, there was always aspects of it there, right? Even go back to when the prequels came out. Like, I hate the prequels, but like my attitude about the prequels is, hey, I hate them, but I want you to love them. And if you like them and you love them, that's awesome to me, right? But even back then you had like some people in the fandoms that would like go after Jake Lloyd. You know, it wasn't his fault.
They ruined that kid's life.
Or why am I freezing on the dude who did Jar Jar? Ahmed Best.
Yep.
People like personally attacking Ahmed Best. It's like, he was an actor who got an opportunity of a lifetime and did exactly what his director told him to do. This was not his fault. And like practically, that's why I love so much his little appearance in Ahsoka. Or Mandalorian, I should say.
Yeah.
It was like such a great redeeming moment for, I love that he had that. But so even back then, you could see the toxicity, right? But it's just become, you know, as we go on, you know, hate gets clicks. Hate's a lot easier to get clicks than anything else. And we've normalized it. We've emboldened people to be more open with their racism and their bigotry and their hatreds and their whatever. And it's just made online fandom a less fun place to be.
It's really easy to be hateful behind a keyboard and behind a screen.
Oh, yeah.
It is
Yeah.
really difficult to create something. It's really, really hard. And if I may, just a shameless plug, I do a podcast about this. I do a show called Two Filthy Casuals about like, hey, do you want to learn about a fandom? Do you want to come here and ask questions without judgment? Please do that, because that's what this should be. The prequels, as much as people don't like them, that was someone's gateway into Star Wars fandom. And isn't that rad when you get a new fan into the thing that you love? That's awesome. We love when that stuff happens.
Sounds kind of woke to me. I don't.
Get out, Jonathan. Ugh.
All right, what's next?
All right, on to our members here. CJ Reber says, I absolutely loved If. One of my most favorite movies so far I've seen this year. Just adorable and heartfelt. My favorite non-human ifs were Steve Carell's The Last Louis G's Teddy Bear. The late Louis G's Teddy Bear, and Blossom, voiced by Phoebe Bridge.
Listen, it was kind of fun going through, because I didn't scan the IMDb, but going as the movie's going on, I was trying to figure out who was doing each of the voices, and it's pretty cool. Bradley Cooper does one of them, which was really good too. Again, I can't guarantee you're going to like it if you haven't seen it yet, because like half the critics don't like it, so you may end up there. All I can say is that I really loved it, and I hope you guys do too. All right, what's next?
Okay. Whoops, wrong one. What quote would you guys want on your tombstones? I love Leslie Nielsen's Let Her Rip. You know mine.
69!
Can't top that, so we'll just move on to the next one. What's next?
Joda Work says, just wanted to commend you guys on how great the 25 Deadpool cameo segment was. It was
thank you.
It was long but never got old, and as funny as you've ever been. I recommend more segments like that.
Well, I mean, there's not a lot you can do like
yeah.
that. Like, what are we gonna do? Let's who's gonna be the B-list stars of the next Martin Scorsese movie? I mean, yeah. So, but you know, when the opportunity arises and there's something legitimate to have a conversation around, we'll definitely do it. But we had a lot of fun doing that one. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. All right, what's next?
All right, the Wookiee says, I keep going to that one. Hey, John, been listening to you for years. I'm a musician, and I got to live out my lifelong dream of getting a song in a movie trailer.
Oh, nice.
Today. Wow.
Nice.
My penguin friend.
Oh,
Thank you for inspiring me all these years.
what a coincidence.
That's awesome. That's, yeah, because
You
you were
guys
just talking
watched
about
that trailer. It's
So you heard
yeah.
the piece of music they're on.
Yeah, I really like. I think I'm gonna go see this movie actually.
Well, go
see it.
in another lifetime, I was considering pursuing a full-time career in music. And then, just like anybody who chases a dream of either being a professional athlete, a professional musician, a professional actor, whatever, stuff like that. You got to come to a point in your life where you're like, okay, wait a minute. Am I actually good enough to really pursue this, or am I not? And I had to sit down and go, I am not. I love music. I still play music.
Yeah, you should always.
I got my keyboards, my guitars, all that kind of stuff around. I still love music, but just, me, unlike you that could do it professionally, when I was a lot younger, I had to come to a point, sat down, really thought about it and said, I am just not good enough to do this professionally. But it's awesome hearing people who are able to take that leap. So congratulations, man. That's awesome.
That's amazing.
All right. What's next?
All right. Halatona or Jalatona, I'm not sure. Your favorite theater CEO is at it again. AMC issuing more shares, taking advantage of another meme surge. They should. That's how you pay off that debt.
They should. And here's what's going to happen. Once again, because of a meme surge that has nothing to do with him, he'll take credit for it. I will still never forget AMC, which would have gone into bankruptcy were it not for the meme stock thing around GameStop. And then it's the following CinemaCon, Adam Aron standing up there and taking credit for saving the company. And it's like, you unbelievable jackass. I just, like, I can't, and look, all opinions are strictly my own, but I cannot put into terms how low my opinion of Adam Aron is. I really can't, I can't properly put it into words. Just how horrible I think he is at that job. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad person because I don't know him personally. For all I know, he's a delightful individual. I'm not trying to imply otherwise. But man, the way he has run that company is very questionable to me. But to Jonathan's point, yeah, meme stock surge, sell more stock than when the price is expensive.
They sold it at like $9 to a private offering. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course you would. 100% you would.
I think it was like 164 million that went towards their highest interest rated debt.
Now, it does dilute your other shareholders' share values a bit, but sometimes you got to do that. So I don't blame him for taking advantage of it. Of course not. But I don't credit him for the meme stock surge. Anyway, what's next?
We got Paco Garcia says, hey, John Campea crew, did any of you happen to catch the re-release of Spider-Man films? It's awesome that they're putting them again on the big screen. I wanted to. I just never had the chance.
No, I haven't. I've been having a hard enough time keeping up with new movies coming up, and I've seen those movies so much. And, the thing, as much as I love the Spider-Man movies, and I do, like, they're not Lord of the Rings, where it's like, it is always better to watch a movie on the big screen, the way it was meant to be, the way the directors intended it to be seen. But there are some movies that is just a completely different experience. Watching Lord of the Rings on the big screen is a totally different experience. And I don't want to hear about, home theater. I've got a 150-inch screen, okay? It's nothing compared to the experience of watching it in a real movie theater. And the Spider-Man films aren't those to me. Definitely meant to be seen in theaters. 100% it's the better experience to see them in theaters, but not a night and day difference like something like Lord of the Rings is.
Yeah. My problem with when they did Lord of the Rings is that they made it a marathon, and they should have just done it like 1 week after another.
Oh, yeah. Completely agree. Yeah.
But anyway.
All right. What's next?
All right. Joel Checky says, you've discussed the greatness of the Fantastic Four cast, but if I'm not mistaken, every single actor they have cast besides Einison is at least Oscar or Emmy nominated with a few winners. Crazy.
They are. Pedro Pascal is now an award winner. Backrach is an Emmy winner. They've all been, I think they've all been nominated.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Paul Walter Hauser is an Emmy winner. Mm-hmm. John Malkovich, several accolades to his name.
Is he talking about the current
Yeah.
cast
Yeah.
or the previous one?
The current one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jessica Alba's won no Emmys.
Okay.
Yeah, just by the way, that sounded like I was trashing on Jessica Alba. I was not trying to trash on Jessica Alba. I think she's delightful. All right, what's next?
All right. Brandon says, from what I'm reading, apparently there's a scene in Megalopolis where a man walks into the physical theater and speaks to Adam Driver's character through the screen. I've heard that too.
I believe I also heard that, which I can't even imagine what that actually looks
Someone
like.
somewhere is gonna freak out and tackle that guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to see it in context to actually get it, but yeah, I've heard there's something kind of weird about that.
Sorry. That's just funny.
Yeah, that's weird. All right, what's next?
All right.
Weird.
Cody says, "Do you think Disney will ever make an Old Republic Star Wars trilogy?" Sure.
Yeah, probably.
Because you got to do something about, you're going to run out of stories. You're going to.
Well, here's the nice thing about Old Republic, okay? The nice thing about Old Republic, and remember, I just got finished saying I'd rather see stories move forward than backwards. But the thing about Old Republic is that it's so far in the past that it's like a completely new universe. It's a completely new setting. Like, if you do a Toranaga prequel show, you know where everything's going.
Yeah.
You know what happens to Toranaga. You go back 5,000 years, you can do anything you want in the Star Wars universe. Because what happens to all these characters in 50 years, you don't know, right? So it's a totally clean slate. And so even though I prefer stories moving forward, going that far back, I think would be very interesting. And I think they'll do it at some point.
That's how I felt like when after Game of Thrones, everyone was like, Rob's Rebellion. I'm like, dude, that's only 18 years before the first Game of Thrones episode. I mean, we know what happens.
Yeah.
We even got a flashback of like what happens with Jon Snow. So why would we need to just...
Is he going to make it?
But the one that they want to do about the first men, it was like 10,000 years before. I was like, yes. It was like how the White Walkers were created.
See, that'd be cool. That's really fun.
That's why even with this like Jon Snow one, I'm like, well, there's no White Walkers up there, so he's just like uniting the North. I mean,
Are there no White Walkers up there?
Yeah, now you're talking.
I'm just saying. All right, what's next?
All right, Starhawk, nice name. Did you notice in If that Brad Pitt is credited as an invisible character, just like another Ryan Reynolds film?
Okay,
Deadpool 2.
I'm so glad you brought this up. So as we're driving home last night from the movie, Ann and I opened up the IMDb because we're trying to guess all the actors who did the voices of the Ifs. And we're going through and we get down to the bottom one. Now, you see in the trailer, I think the name of the If is Keith. In the trailer, there's a shot that Ryan Reynolds is walking down a hallway and then trips over something and gets up and goes, Keith! And then he says, why would somebody imagine an invisible imaginary friend? Right? In the IMDb, it lists Brad Pitt as Keith, who I don't think has a single... I might have to watch it again. I don't think Keith has a single line in the movie. There is no Keith dialogue. Now, for those of you who don't know, what he's referring to is that there was a character in Deadpool 2, one of the members of X-Force, that is invisible. And you never see them until they're parachuting out of a plane and run into some power lines, and they become visible for just a split second as they're being electrocuted. And you can clearly see in that split second it's Brad Pitt. The fact that they actually list Brad Pitt as Keith in IMDb is brilliant. Now, whether or not, again, I don't think there's any dialogue from Keith in the movie at all. So I don't know.
What do you even have to pay Brad Pitt just to use his credit?
Oh my God. Just the fact that they credit him is genius as the invisible imaginary friend. All right. What's next?
JMH says, this morning I saw Babes, the new Ilana Glazer comedy. I found it charming, but only okay. Did you catch it at CinemaCon?
So I honestly, look, CinemaCon was so busy. I was constantly looking for things that I didn't need to go to. And I chose not to go see Babes. But I'll tell you what, Chris, a lot of people came out of it, I heard, really enjoyed it. Like, not as much as they did Joyride last year. But I heard really good things about it. You did see this movie. What did you think?
So this was the mystery movie on Monday, and I kind of hedged my bets because of the time and the rating of, I'm pretty sure this isn't going to be Strangers Chapter 1. I think it's going to be Babes. It's really fun. I do think Joyride is a stronger film if we are going to compare the, like, gal raunchy comedy one to another. But this is the thing. People skipped out on Joyride. I need you to start seeing these movies, y'all, because I want these movies made. I want raunchy comedies going to theaters. And this is a really fun one. If you like Broad City, you will like this movie. It feels like the spiritual sister to this film. Ilana Glazer is that same kind of character, which I think some people will probably critique, but I think that she gives great delivery. I love her style of comedy. It's a story that does have a lot of heart, and it's got a meet cute in it that has to be executed so well. And I think that's the linchpin of this movie. And they really, really nail that. And it's just a really great film that if you are a mom, my friends who have had kids said this kind of nails how you feel about being pregnant, having children, those kinds of things. And if you're like me and you don't want kids, woo, it really solidifies that.
All right, let's take 2 more questions.
Alan says, "Happy Friday, can't be a crew. Do you have any movie or TV characters who inspire you to be better people like Ted Lasso or Steve Rogers, etc.?"
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could say because Tom Hanks played him anyway, even if you weren't using the real.
Again, and you got to forgive me, I always confuse the name of the narrative movie versus the documentary. One's called Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Right.
And the other's called It's a Beautiful Day or something like that.
Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
In the Neighborhood?
Yeah.
So I can't remember which one is the name of the documentary. If you guys, one of you guys can look that up. Yeah. But yeah, I've talked about it before.
Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is with Tom Hanks.
Okay, so
Won't You Be My
Neighbor
Neighbor
is the documentary about Mr. Rogers. I have never had a documentary move me so much. Again, I made this statement before, like really good movies change the way you see the world. The absolute pinnacle of movies are the ones that make you change the way you see yourself. And like Mr. Rogers, I've never seen anything narrative-wise, documentary-wise, that will make you want to be a better person. When like he was the frickin' man. He was the man. I know he would be called a woke snowflake today. That he would be attacked as being woke and all this kind of stuff. He was the fucking man. Mr. Rogers, who would look at me side-eyed for saying fucking man, but it is the true nonetheless. The best I can say about it will make you want to be a better person. And it's just incredible. I highly, 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 highly recommend that documentary to
Mine
everybody.
is Bluey.
Blue.
I'm not lying.
Want to be
That show
doll.
is so stinking cute.
Like it teaches me life lessons every day that like even if I've gone through them, I rethink it and be like, oh, I could do that better if it ever happens again.
My friends' kids are obsessed with that show. We watched a couple episodes with them, and it's so delightful. And it's now Logan uses it in class. Of any of his students who want to do an Australian dialect, he's like, "You gotta watch Bluey. Just sit there and watch Bluey. You're gonna get
Bluey
it.
is so...
It's so cute."
All right, last question of the day.
All right. Sir Ock, I'm going to say, in your opinion, what is the best line of any film?
Best last line.
Best last line.
I don't know.
I know mine.
What's that?
We'll always have Paris.
Ooh,
Although that's not
a
the
good
last
one.
line.
No,
The
but it's a
last
good
line
line.
is, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship, which is really good too.
Yeah.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Mine was Titanic.
Pretty sure it was Don't Let Go, and then guess what she did?
Yeah. Yeah.
Spoiler alert, she let
Oh,
go.
that was Titanic. I'm trying to think of.
No, you can't.
I don't often remember the last line in a movie.
Top down.
Yeah, so not sure.
I mean, it's the spoken part of the song. Shocker. I'm going to go Muppets, you guys. When they do the Life's Like a Movie, make your own ending, keep believing, keep pretending before they do the last few lines of Rainbow Connection.
Aw.
Oh, so
Wait,
beautiful.
did you see the Muppets re-release?
That hasn't happened yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Because it's in my calendar.
Okay.
Like some people are saying lines in the live chat that are not the last lines of the movie of their movies. So
That's
anyway,
all, folks.
I don't think that was the last line in any movie.
Yeah.
All right,
Well, thanks.
that'll do
That's
it
our answer.
for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. We hope you guys have an awesome weekend. We look forward to seeing you again next week. And until then, for the guys in the room, Ray Ora,
Have a good weekend.
Jonathan Voico,
Hey, if I don't see you guys at Just Like Heaven in Pasadena this weekend, I'll see you Monday.
Chris Carr.
If you're going to Ontario Comic Con, have fun.
Oh,
We're going to that tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
And thank you to you guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.